Now, in our body, there can be different form of your protein degradation or formation. So, according to the protein formation or degradation, whether it's equal or degradation is being more than formation or formation being more than degradation, you can have different type of your state of the body, which can be known as nitrogen balance. So, it can be positive nitrogen balance, it can be negative nitrogen balance or nitrogen equilibrium. So nitrogen equilibrium means however whatever amount of protein is ingested, that is ingested nitrogen is amount of nitrogen excreted, it is equal. Positive nitrogen balance, mainly in case of anabolic state, like in case of pregnancy where the synthesis is going more than compared to the excretion, we have positive nitrogen balance, which is also seen in the physiological condition, that is in pregnancy. Or negative nitrogen balance, that is the ingested nitrogen is less than nitrogen excreted. It is mainly in case of pathological state where the nitrogen excretion cannot be taking place more, like in your case of renal disease, they can have nitrogen balance which is negative, and also that ingested nitrogen is less, like in protein energy malnutrition. Normally the protein turnover is equal around 400 gram per day in a normal human being. Now coming on to the catabolism of protein, that is how does, or amino acid catabolism, that is how this digestion of protein which is going on to the smaller amino acids is further metabolized to its specific cycle. Now we all know that the proteins which are taken from the diet or intracellular proteins, all of them are going to give you amino acid pool which is fixed, that is around 100 gram per day. So this amino acid pool can have, the amino acid contains the nitrogen skeleton and the carboxyl skeleton. So nitrogen skeleton go for the excretion in the form of your going to the urea cycle, which is today's class. So we'll be discussing this today, and then which we have already read about, that is the carbon skeleton of amino acid goes for the giving energy, that is either it can go for giving you energy or synthesis of carbohydrate like gluconeogenesis, your glycogenesis, or majorly it can go for Krebs cycle, that is which will give you energy in the form of ATP. So this, in this way amino acid metabolism is taking place. Now these are the catabolism. This amino acid also go for the anabolism, like synthesis of your oxaloacetate and further into glucose, and also for the synthesis of your specialized products like heme, creatine, your purine, pyrimidine, etc. So this amino acid metabolism is going through the different phase, different types of the reaction. We will be discussing it one by one. Now coming on to how is the protein degraded. So we all learned about how is protein taken up or broken down by the peptidases, how is the amino acid absorbed through amino acid carrier, how is this amino acid going to the different fate into the carbon skeleton and the nitrogen skeleton into different fate, that is different metabolic reaction. Now how is the degradation of the whole protein taking place inside our body? We all read about the enzymatic activity which is breaking down the, that is catabolism of the protein, but you have different types of the protein which goes for extracellular and the intracellular degradation. So the proteins, they are the extracellular proteins which are present outside the cells. They are degraded by a specific organelle which is present inside the cell, that is your lysosomes, which are also known as the suicidal bags. They have their activity which is mediated through cathepsins, which acts on the proteins to degrade it, and they are mainly via the endocytosis. So it takes the membrane, they folds and they take the protein inside, and the lysosomes they break down by the process known as endocytosis, forming a cellular component known as phagolysosome, which can break down the desired protein. This is one of the pathway by which protein degradation can occur. The second degradation, which is a very important and a topic of research nowadays, is by intracellular proteins via ubiquitin proteasome pathway. The interesting part is ubiquitin itself is a protein, and this is involved in your cell degradation, protein degradation, which is the intracellular proteins. Now, how will this ubiquitin proteasome pathway gets activated, or how will it be knowing that this protein has to be degraded now, and now here itself it has to be degraded? It is mainly by the half-life of the protein. So half-life of the protein depends upon the chemistry of the protein, the wear and tear, that is their specificity of the amino acid which is present, so on and so forth. So half-life of the protein is the major one which depends upon the degradation of the protein. The second thing is how is the amino acid sequences are present in the amino terminal sequence. According to this, the half-life is determined. Now, ATP and ubiquitin dependent degradation is a very important type of the protein degradation which is useful for your intracellular degradation. I won't be going much on detail of each of the enzymes specificity, how is this happening, just an overview that ubiquitin is itself a protein, and it is has a very small molecular weight, 8.5 kilodalton, and it is the ubiquitin is the protein which tags your degradable proteins. So ubiquitin, it recognizes the protein and it tags it by the help of different types of the sequences, and it takes the ubiquitin, it tags and it takes it to the proteasome, which is the protein cutter. So this proteasome is the one which degrades your protein into the smaller amino acid. So ubiquitin, it tags, it takes it to the proteasome which degrades into the amino acid, and this amino acid goes to the amino acid pool. Now, it does not happen as I speak, that is so easily, but there is requirement of the 3 different enzymes for the ubiquitin dependent activation of protein degradation. So there is E1, E2 and E3, 3 types of the enzyme which have specific action for the ubiquitin to tag or to recognize the degradable protein, a protein which needs to be degraded. The E1 is the activating enzyme, E2 is the conjugating enzyme, and E3 is the ligase enzyme which ligates this whole ubiquitin to the protein to be degraded. Lysine in the 48th position of the ubiquitin, it forms the peptide bond for the proteins to be degraded. Now, how will the ubiquitin know that which protein needs to be degraded? We have different types of the sequences which occurs, which is present in the protein's amino terminal sequence, amino terminal of the proteins. That is, if you have methionine at the amino terminal, the protein half-life is not more than 20 hours. So protein gets degraded within 20 hours. That is, methionine is present at the amino terminal. That's why it is also known as de Grauns sequence. De Grauns, that is to be degraded. If it is arginine, then it has much short half-life, that is only around 2 minutes. Cyclin destruction boxes, if it is present in the amino terminal, it marks for the degradation of your cell cycle proteins. And the very important one is PEST sequence. PEST is proline, glutamate, serine and threonine. If this sequences is present at the N terminal, then it lets the amino acid ubiquitin to recognize the proteins, and it degrades the protein subsequently. So these are the different types of your residues. If it is it needs to be more than 20 hours, it should contain alanine. It generally contains alanine, proline or cysteine. It's in amino terminal. 2 to 30 minutes, arginine, lysine, histidine and phenylalanine. Destabilizing 3 to 30 minutes. These all are the amino acids which are destabilizing for the proteins. So this is the picture which is showing that how is ubiquitin getting attached to your target protein that is to be degraded via proteasome. This ubiquitin molecule needs to be activated and conjugated, then further it is binding to the target protein in 3 steps. The first step is via the E1 enzyme. This is the ubiquitin, which is itself a small that is the polypeptide, so it requires energy. So E1, it binds first to the ubiquitin, and then this is required for the activation. Now the second one comes is the E2, which is the conjugating enzyme. After E2 comes, the E1 E1 leaves the ubiquitin, and E2 is required, so that this conjugation means E2 helps in the binding of your ubiquitin to the target, so that your E3, which has the activity of ligase, that is joining up enzyme, so that this ubiquitin binds to the target properly. So target means the proteins to be degraded, that is this protein needs to be degraded. Proteins to be degraded is the target protein, which is bound by this ubiquitin. So at least 4 ubiquitin molecule is required to be bound to your target molecule, so that it goes to the proteasome and breaks down into the subsequent amino acids. So this cycle has, that is ubiquitin has to be, 4 ubiquitin has to be there in the target protein to be degraded. Now coming on to what is a proteasome. So proteasome is the same action as that of the proteases. Our proteases have the proteolytic action, that is it breaks down the bigger amino acid into the smaller polypeptides and ultimately to the amino acids. The same thing is the proteasome. They are the protease complex, which is comprised of your alpha and beta subunit, and as a whole it is a 26S complex, which is which has two unit, that is it has a catalytic unit of 20S and it has a cap of 19S. This whole forms of 26S. This catalytic unit is the one which breaks down the amino acid into the the proteins into the free amino acid. This cap is always there, which whenever it is not activated. Now whenever your ubiquitin molecule comes, I told you that there are no need of 4 ubiquitin molecules for that is attached to your target protein. This can only open up this cap, and the proteins which is need to be degraded, it comes here. This ubiquitin molecule is again recycled. So once it comes into this target, that is the catalytic part, it breaks the proteins are broken down like the same as that in case of a mixer grinder, when we are breaking down a bigger chunk of the molecule into the smaller powder form. In the same way, the bigger polypeptides are converted into the free amino acid by the catalytic activity of your proteasomes. Now this is the process, the whole one, that is a ubiquitinated protein. You can see this, the ubiquitin molecules are linked to the targeted protein. It comes to the proteasome, it forms the peptide fragment, the ubiquitin molecules are released and it is recycled, and it again goes and search for the proteins to be, other proteins that needs to be degraded. Now we all have known that amino acid is not only forming the proteins, but rather it is also going for the energy, giving energy to the body for the synthesis of fatty acids, lipids. Now what happens in the different state of the body, like is in case of fully fed state or in case of fasting state? What is the fate of the amino acid? First we'll be seeing for the fasting condition what happens, or how is the inter-organ collaboration happening for the amino acid transport. We all know that whenever there is less energy in the body, our body wants the energy, that is there is need of the synthesis of the glucose mainly, which is the metabolic fuel. Now we all know that the major amino acid is present, or let's say the protein which is present, which contains the amino acid, is in the muscle. So whenever there is no energy or energy less state, that is we don't have glucose, we don't have any other metabolic fuel, this is the last resort to be degraded. So these proteins, they are degraded, or the proteins degraded into the single amino acid, and majorly it is the alanine which is coming from your muscle, which is transported to the liver to give your synthesis of your metabolic fluid, that is it is going for gluconeogenesis. This muscle also provides valine for the brain and glutamine for your kidney. It is forming the glutamine, and which is ultimately excreted in the form of urea, since it contains glutamate plus ammonia. The major thing which is happening here is, this is the last resort which is used whenever there is no any metabolic fuel in the body, that is no carbohydrate or no fatty acid. Now what happens in case of your fed state or postprandial state? We have major amount of your amino acid which is absorbed. As I've told you, small intestine is the major organ which absorbs the amino acid through various transporters. So alanine, which which helps in the formation of glucose, and then ultimately subsequently it can also give you glycogen. This alanine is going in the liver, it can be stored in the form of the glycogen, and it is again transported into the muscle. That is, in the muscle it is stored in the form of protein. This muscle can, the one which is the amino acid which needs to be excreted, that is valine, is sent to the brain, or your glutamine is excreted via the kidney in the form of the urea as the excretory product. The major one, it is converted into the stored form of the metabolic fuel in the liver and other organs.